In the dead of night, when the house settles into an unsettling silence, have you ever felt like you weren't truly alone? For Alex, that feeling was about to become his reality. It all started on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, in the one place he avoided most, the attic. Dust motes danced in the single sliver of light from a grimy window as he searched for old family photos. Tucked away in a forgotten corner, beneath a pile of moth-eaten blankets, was a small, leather-bound book. It felt cold to the touch, and there was no lock, no name, just a faint scent of old paper and something else. Something like decay. He blew the dust off its cover and opened it. The handwriting inside was elegant, yet sharp, as if etched with a needle. The first entry was dated almost 50 years ago. It described the neighborhood in vivid detail, but then the entries took a darker turn. They spoke of secrets, the quiet old woman next door, Mrs. Gable. The diary claimed she wasn't always so quiet. It detailed a hushed-up scandal from her youth, a story of betrayal that supposedly drove a man to leave town overnight. Alex scoffed. It was just old gossip, but he couldn't stop reading. The next few pages were even more specific. It mentioned his own parents who had lived in this house their whole lives. The diary described a terrible argument they had before he was born, a secret they swore to take to their graves. It even knew about the locket his mother lost in the garden, a detail so small, so personal. He'd only heard the story once. How could anyone know that? A chill that had nothing to do with the attic's damp air crept up his spine. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This wasn't just gossip, it was an invasion. Who was writing this? He flipped further, his heart starting to pound a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The diary's entries became more recent. It described a car accident on their street just last year, noting the make and model of the car and the exact time it happened. Alex remembered that night vividly. He'd heard the screech of tires and the sickening crunch of metal. He checked the date in the diary. The entry was written a full week before the accident occurred. It wasn't a record. It was a prediction. His breath hitched. He frantically turned the pages, his hands trembling. He found an entry from 2 months ago. It read, "The old oak tree in the miller's yard will fall during the first storm of autumn. It will crush their new fence." Alex froze. The miller's tree had fallen just like that, 3 weeks ago. They had complained about the cost of the fence for days. At the time, everyone called it a freak accident. But this diary suggested otherwise. What would you do if you found something like this? Would you keep reading, or would you burn it immediately? Let me know in the comments. His eyes scanned the pages, searching for answers, but all he found were more terrifyingly accurate predictions. A neighbor's lottery win, a sudden illness that befell a friend, a burst water pipe that flooded the basement of the house across the street, all documented, all foreseen. The writer seemed to be an invisible observer, a phantom chronicling the town's joys and, more often, its sorrows. The diary didn't just tell secrets, it seemed to write the future. And as Alex read, a paranoid thought began to fester. Was the diary simply predicting these events, or was it somehow causing them? The handwriting grew more erratic in the later entries, the elegant script evolving into a frantic scrawl. The ink was darker, fresher. He found an entry from last week that described him. Alex found the book today. He thinks he is in control. He thinks he has found a secret. He does not realize the secret has found him. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He slammed the book shut, his heart hammering. It was impossible. He'd just found it hours ago. How could this be written a week ago? He felt watched, a puppet on a string, his every move anticipated by this cursed book. He wanted to throw it, to burn it, to pretend he never found it. But a morbid curiosity, a terrifying need to know, forced his hands to open it again. What was the point of hiding if his fate was already written? He turned to the next page, the paper feeling thin and fragile, as if it could crumble into dust at any moment. The entry was for the following day. It detailed a power outage that would plunge the entire neighborhood into darkness. It described the panic, the confusion, and the strange noises that would come from the woods behind his house. The next evening, Alex sat in his living room, every light in the house blazing. He told himself it was just a coincidence, a series of bizarrely accurate guesses. But as the clock ticked past 8, the lights flickered once, twice, then died, plunging him into absolute blackness. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. And then he heard it, a faint scratching sound, coming from the back door. Just like the diary said. He held his breath, listening. The scratching stopped, replaced by a low whisper that seemed to slither through the cracks in the door. It was a name. His name. He spent the rest of the night huddled in a corner, clutching a flashlight with a trembling hand, waiting for the sun to rise. When morning finally came, he was exhausted but resolute. He had to know who was behind this. The diary had to have a final page, an answer. With a sense of dread, he opened the book to the very last entry. The page was dated for today. The handwriting was neat again, and chillingly final. It wasn't a long entry, just a few sentences that made the blood in his veins turn to ice. It described the old, forgotten well in his backyard, a place he hadn't thought about in years. The entry read, "He will go to the well, seeking answers." He thinks he is the reader of the story. Alex's eyes widened in horror as he read the final terrifying line. He doesn't know he is the final chapter. The book then detailed, in cold, precise language, how he would be drawn to the well, how he would be drawn to its dark, murky depths, and how, in the end, he would find his answer at the bottom. The last sentence was a simple, chilling statement, and then the diary will be empty, waiting for a new story to be told. Is he the next victim? Is his fate sealed? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling mysteries, and check the pinned comment to discover more hidden truths.